Have you ever strived to get to a certain destination in life only to end up feeling empty once you get there? Today we'll be talking about how that situation might show up for you, why, and also how to combat that. So if you're new here, hi, I'm Azure, also known as the Fairy Coach Mother. I help survivors become overcomers and find their happy adulthood after maybe an unhappy childhood. So if that sounds of interest, please stick around. And if you like that vibe, please like and subscribe. So, quick digression, strive. The past tense of strive. So is it striven, strove, strived? According to Alexa, it's strove, but I thought that kind of sounds weird. So anyway, what destination have you strived to get to in the past? Like how this showed up for me was a couple of things come to mind. Like I have always struggled with my weight, ever since childhood. Growing up, I always knew my relationship with food was different. I It was like my coping mechanism for the child mistreatment that I suffered. And so sneaking food, inappropriate relationship with food, food being my friend, those kinds of things, um disordered relationship, was always an issue. But in addition to that, I ended up learning that I actually have a genetic condition that relates to kind of like I have a hormonal issue essentially where I don't feel as full as other people. So how much of my issue was disordered eating and how much of it, was this genetic thing? Who knows? But I remember growing up, it was like once I lose weight, like that's gonna be it. Like I'm gonna have made it. It was like I just had this, it was a symbol, for like having a happy life essentially and being successful, even if I attained other measures of success, without that, I felt like I was a loser. um, and or a gainer, I guess. So I was always somewhere in the process of gaining weight and losing weight, never successfully maintaining it. And in college, for example, I had this like big campaign where I lost a lot of weight, and but I did it from a disordered place. I was running 15 miles a day, literally, eating chicken bouillon and stuff, and then having Chipotle once a week. It was um a lot of striving. And it was like, okay, once I achieve this certain goal weight, like my life is going to be together. And there was a lot of, at the time, a lot of the diet culture, had like messaging like new body, new you, and so I literally took that very seriously and was like, when I lose weight, I'm going to become this other version of myself. And so I'm not even going to be me anymore. I'm going to be this other person that sort of is vaguely like me, like a some kind of doppelganger who lived a different life in a parallel timeline or something, before we even had terms for that. And then when I lost the weight, it was very disillusioning because I assumed that it was going to come with this happy feeling. And it was happy at, the achievement of any goal is kind of like happy on the surface, right? It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did it. It's like elating. But then, once you kind of settle into that normalcy of that, it's like, wow, this feels empty. Because if it didn't have sustenance to begin with, it's going to feel empty. You can't separate the means from the end from the end. So if the means to the end feels empty and the road there feels empty, then you're not going to find this fulfillment once you get there. You have to find fulfillment along the way. So that was really disillusioning. Um, and it was like, wow, I'm still me. This sucks. And then I gained the weight back, and there's been a number of ups and downs since then. And, now that have really figured out and resolved disordered relationships with food and stuff, I'm trying to heal my body. I have some autoimmune things and things like that, but that's a whole other story. But now this time it's like I know it will be different because there's a fullness along the journey that where I had like emptiness before. Because if you have emptiness along the journey, if you attain the goal, you're just going to have emptiness at the end. Like, unfortunately, learned that lesson the hard way. Another one is I had this idea of like my life growing up, like once I achieved a certain thing, I was going to feel like I will have made it, I will be successful, I will feel amazing or something. And it was like kind of this idea around being married and kind of being a young high achieving adult, you know, someone who was climbing the corporate ladder, recently married, going places, kind of like a young hotshot at work, or you know, that type of thing. Similarly, at the end, it was like, wow, I'm still me. This sucks. You know, you have to, if you're striving, it has to be from this place of like, there has to be enough fullness there to begin with so that it won't feel empty. Okay, so there's this quote that kind of what sparked the idea for this video. If you haven't seen it, it's the movie Judy, about Judy Garland, and oh, what a sad life, you know, and I can relate to a lot of things in her life, unfortunately. But there's a scene where she is in a piano bar later in her career, and she's singing, uh, you know, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And she's kind of giving her intro to it. And she says, "This isn't a song about getting anywhere. It's about walking towards somewhere that you've dreamed of. And maybe, just maybe, the walk is every day of your life. And walking has to be enough." And it's like, this is so tragic and relatable because, you know, for those of us who've had rough beginnings of our life, you know, we have this idea of like, one day I'm going to be happy, you know, one day I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to achieve this, or meet someone and have this amazing love, or, you know, all different kinds of ways that this can show up for you. And sometimes the destination doesn't feel the same way we thought it was going to feel. Like it was more, the feeling was more real when it was out in front of us than actually when we achieved it. So I think that, you know, what we have, the lesson in this is that the walking of the path has to be enough. And in fact, a second quote, this is from Buddha, but there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. And if you think about it, you know, Wizard of Oz, it's a yellow brick road. It's not red brick road or purple. It's yellow. Yellow is the symbol for happiness. And when you think about Dorothy's journey to Oz, and she's dreaming that Oz is going to be this like amazing wizard and that he's going to solve all of her problems and they're going to have the most amazing relationship and he's going to send her home and all of this stuff. And Oz is obviously really different once she gets there. She sees that he is not only but a human, but also like a swindler and like a fraud. And so, you know, how disappointing and how much that happens in life. We strive for the thing and then we get there and it's like, the fantasy of this was kind of better than the achieving of it. But the road there is the happiness, right? It's the yellow brick road. The real point of the Wizard of Oz is the relationships that she gains along the way, right? The lion, the tin man, the scarecrow, the friendships you gain along the way, being happy along the way, you know, the skipping and dancing that they do on the way to the wizard, and the hopefulness that they feel on their way there. Much more important than actually getting there. So for your truth and dare for this video, for your truth, what is that area of your life that you are striving the most for, that you have a passion and a fire in your belly to reach? It might be a certain health goal. It might be a monetary goal. It might be a career goal, a traveler experience goal, a life, you know, relationship goal. What is that for you? What is your biggest desire? What is your vision for that? What is that thing that you're trying to achieve? What's that goal? But more importantly, what is the feeling that you think you're going to have when you get there? Like, is it elation, success, worthiness? What is that feeling? Like, whenever we want something, it's because that there's a feeling that we think we're going to have once we get that. So what is that feeling that you're looking for? And what are the steps that it will take to get there? So for example, if someone has a goal to, like, pretend run a marathon, then the steps to get there is to uh, walk, then run, a little further and keep running and, like, train basically for the marathon. Maybe if you have a financial goal, it's like saving a certain amount, every day or something like that. So what are those steps that you need to get there? Now, here's the dare: fall in love with those things, because at the end of the day, that's what we have. Even if you achieve the goal, the bulk of your time is in the preparation for the thing. The achievement of it is a fleeting moment. Like, if you think about when you go to college, you're like, okay, we're going to graduate. That's one day. It's not even a full day. It's like a couple hours on one day in June. And when you spent 4 or 5 years leading up to that, right? So you have to be happy along those 4 to 5 years, you would hope, so you can have a good college experience, instead of just being like, oh, I'm delaying my gratification, I'm going to have misery now, and then that one day after 4 or 5 years, for a couple hours, I'm going to have elation, and maybe for a few hours after that. So, like, what are those steps along the way, and find your happiness in that, because at the end of the day, that's what we have, like, and that's where we spend the bulk of our time. So that's your truth and that's your dare. I hope this helps and is motivating and inspiring to whatever you're trying to create in your life. So I'd love to hear, what is your goal, and what is the feeling that you're associating with it, and what are the steps that you're falling in love with? If you wouldn't mind putting it in your comments, I am genuinely curious. Like, I want to support you guys in whatever you're trying to create. So, and then if you have a situation that you'd love my take on, feel free to send it. I'd be happy to do a video on it. And my contact information is in the description box, and it can be anonymous if you'd like. And if you'd like a one-on-one for a more private experience, I offer a free complimentary session to see if we would be a good fit and everything. So I'd be happy to help you with whatever you're trying to overcome, so that you can find your happiness at the end of whatever you've been struggling with. So hope that helps, and take care, everyone, and talk again soon. Bye.